Dave Tosh, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center. Today I'm with Jennifer Talbot. She's the Executive Director of the Wenatchee Valley Dispute Resolution Center. It's an organization that I have been aware of for most of the time that I've been here, 8 years, and I know we've had seniors utilize your services, and I think that there's a lot of resources in the Valley that we're trying to promote right now with our TV programming, the Vibrant Living. And yours is one that I think the seniors should become more aware of, because I'm not so sure that a lot of them are aware it's an option and it's a resource that they can utilize. So right off the bat, you work with people to try and resolve disputes. And so you use mediation. Would you like to speak about what that is?
I would love to, yes. Mediation is an alternative dispute resolution. It's one way to try to resolve a problem between two parties or multiple parties. It is a structured process that you have a neutral, impartial third party that works with the parties to through a process to come up with something that's going to be a doable and durable resolution to an issue that people are dealing with. And so a lot of times, this can be an alternative to going to court, but it can also just be a way to meet people. Sometimes conflict is really tough when you're struggling with somebody else on something. Sometimes it's really hard to know how to approach that other party or that other person, and emotions are high, and sometimes you're just not always thinking straight. And so it's an option to be able to sit down with someone who could just say, okay, let's work through this together, and we're going to help you out.
So who are these mediators, and where do you find them?
Right, we have mediators. They're just community members. They're people that live here locally that want to help out. They are people who have agreed to invest time in and some resources in their training. And so, honestly, we have a lot of folks that are retired that decide that they would like to give back to their community in this way. Perhaps they've had some professional experience in counseling or law enforcement or human resources or retired attorneys. And they go through the training, and then they volunteer their time. So our mediators are volunteer, and they, and like I said, they do go through a training. We have a basic mediation training and a family mediation training. And then there are some requirements for observing mediation and then practicing mediation. And then they become a certified mediator for our center. And I think it's really positive because you've got local people that are helping their neighbors out, basically.
And this training is local?
It is.
It's all done right here?
Yes, we are currently doing virtual training via Zoom, but we're hoping that eventually we'll get back to some in-person training as well. So
it sounds to me like this is a way of staying out of the court system. Is that true?
Yes.
And so in that regard, you're lessening the burden on the judiciary.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So if a person is wanting to go down a different route, why would they do it? Why would they choose mediation?
Right. Well, and I think that's a really good point about lessening the burden on the courts. I think the other thing is that going through the court process for many things can be very expensive and time-consuming. And it's very adversarial is another issue. And so I think people really will choose mediation as a way to do things cost-effectively and to save time. Often with one mediation session, a resolution can be reached. And so then you've got a a written agreement, and you're able to move forward. And so I think that's really a benefit for people. I think people often, when they're in conflict, think nothing's going to work. They're really stuck. And so just trying mediation and giving it a shot and see if it will work is the first step. And I think people often find the feedback that we receive is even if they walk away from the mediation without an agreement, or maybe there's more work to be done in the conflict, they all say that they really appreciated the process and that they would recommend mediation for other people.
Very interesting. So, we want to talk about mediation with regard to the senior population. What are some of the things that seniors might be more prone to having to mediate?
Yes, that's a great question because, and I get that question a lot. What types of things are cases for mediation? And mediation is really something that can be used for any type of situation. But common things are family issues, family conflicts. There might be, there could be a divorce happening and dissolution of a relationship. And so things have to get settled on that end. And but sometimes there's things over in a parent's estate. The siblings just working through that. Like care, elder care, medical, who's going to help with finances, who's going to help with medical. And if you have, if you have children that need to work that out and get things in writing, that's could be something really common. Sometimes there's neighbor to neighbor disputes, I think that's something that happens quite a bit. Housing disputes, if you're in a rental or if you're a landlord and you're having issues with tenant or landlord, that's pretty common, especially currently that's a big thing. If you have a business that you're working on, sometimes there's a dissolution of the business or there's things that need to be formalized or figured out. We do always recommend having some legal consultation, so that you know what your rights are and have some understanding before going into mediation. But, a lot of those things can get settled through the process.
I would imagine there's a lot of different variations on all of this. So typically, though, how long would a mediation take?
Right. So when we schedule a mediation, we schedule it for a 3-hour time session. Depending on the complexity of the issues, there might be additional sessions needed. Especially if there are property issues involved, we often do 2 or 3 sessions for that. But normally, it's just a 3-hour session.
And so, what does it cost?
Okay. Well, the way it works is when you give us a call, we'll talk to you about whether mediation is going to be right for you. If you're interested in proceeding, we charge a $25 intake fee. And then from there, the mediation, if you end up mediating, the session will be anywhere from $26 to $170. And that's because we have a sliding scale. So if you are qualifying through the federal poverty guidelines, you can get a discount.
And the last question I have for you, how do they contact you?
Right, we have our intake care specialist, so we have an intake call center, and that number is 509-888-0957, and that's the easiest way, is just to give us a call. You can also go to our website, and we have a nifty little contact form that you can fill out with your information, and we can get back to you via email.
And there's more information on your website.
On the website,
as well,
yes, absolutely. Go to our website, and hopefully your questions will get answered there. We have information about mediation, but we also have information about becoming a mediator. So if that's something you'd like to do, we've got information there.
Well, Jennifer, I want to thank you very much for spending a few moments with us today. I think this is very useful information. I think this is a great resource in our valley. Many people ought to consider taking advantage of.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.